What happens when the lie you told to protect your family becomes the very thing that destroys them? I didn't do it to hurt them. I did it because I loved them. The words hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Dr. Phil froze mid-gesture, his hands suspended in disbelief. The studio audience gasped collectively. And in that moment, everyone knew this woman's confession had just changed everything. Stop the tape. Dr. Phil's voice cut through the silence like a scalpel. Stop. Right now. The cameras kept rolling, but the energy in the room had shifted into something nobody had anticipated. Production assistants exchanged glances. The audience sat paralyzed. And on the iconic Dr. Phil couch sat Karen Miller, a 47-year-old mother of 3, her face buried in trembling hands, finally confronting the weight of a lie she had carried for 12 years. But to understand how we got here, to this moment of absolute devastation, we need to go back. Back to where it all began. 3 weeks earlier, the Dr. Phil show had received a desperate email from Karen's eldest daughter, Michelle, 23. The subject line read, "My mother has been lying to us our entire lives, and it's tearing our family apart." The production team, accustomed to dramatic pitches, found something different in Michelle's words. Raw pain. Genuine confusion. A family fracturing in real time. The initial interview took place via video call. Michelle, her voice shaking but determined, explained the situation. "My mother told us for years that our father abandoned us. That he didn't want us. That he never sent support, never called, never cared. We grew up believing we weren't worth loving." Dr. Phil leaned forward on the screen, his signature intensity already engaged. "And what changed? I found letters," Michelle whispered. "Dozens of them. Hidden in my mother's closet. All from him. All unopened. All returned to sender by her." The story had everything Dr. Phil recognized: betrayal, family trauma, and a mother who believed she was doing the right thing. Karen Miller agreed to come on the show after weeks of her children's pleading. She arrived at the studio that Tuesday morning wearing a simple blue cardigan, her hands clutching a worn leather purse. Backstage, she barely made eye contact with the producers. Dr. Phil's team noted in their briefing, "Subject appears heavily guarded. Potential for significant emotional breakthrough or complete shutdown." When Dr. Phil walked onto the stage that day, the audience erupted in their customary applause. But his expression was different, more focused, more intense. He knew this wasn't going to be a typical episode about family dysfunction. This was about a mother who had made a choice, lived with it, and was now being forced to confront what that choice had cost. "Karen, Dr. Phil began after she took her seat. "Your daughters are here today because they want answers. They want to understand why you kept their father away from them for over a decade." Karen's jaw tightened. "I did what I thought was best." Best for whom? The question wasn't accusatory, it was surgical. "For them. For my children." But Karen didn't know that Dr. Phil's team had spent 2 weeks investigating. They'd found the father. They'd read the letters. They'd uncovered financial records. And they knew the truth was far more complicated than Karen was admitting. "Karen, I want to show you something." Dr. Phil gestured to the large screen behind him. Photos began to appear, Karen's children as toddlers, then elementary school age, then teenagers. Normal family photos. Soccer games. Birthday parties. Christmas mornings. But in every single image, one person was conspicuously absent. "These are beautiful memories," Dr. Phil said quietly. "But there's someone missing from all of them, isn't there?" Karen's eyes welled up. "He chose not to be there. Did he?" Dr. Phil's tone shifted. "Or did you choose that for him?" The audience leaned forward. This was the moment they'd been waiting for, the confrontation. "I don't know what you mean," Karen said, but her voice cracked. Dr. Phil picked up a folder from the table beside him. "Karen, we reached out to your ex-husband, David. He agreed to speak with us. And what he told us doesn't match what you've been telling your children for 12 years. Karen's face went pale. The studio went completely silent. He said. Dr. Phil opened the folder. Bet he sent child support every single month. He said he wrote letters every week. He said he showed up to their school events, but you had a restraining order that kept him 500 feet away. He said he hired lawyers, fought for visitation rights, and was denied repeatedly. Is that true, Karen? Karen's hands began to shake. You don't understand. Then help me understand. For a moment, it seemed like Karen might stand up and walk off the stage. Her eyes darted to the exit. Her breathing quickened. But then something in her broke, not dramatically, not loudly, but like a dam with a hairline fracture that suddenly gives way. He hurt me, Karen whispered. The audience inhaled collectively. This was the turn nobody saw coming. He hurt you, Dr. Phil repeated, his voice softening immediately. Physically? No. Not physically. Karen looked up, tears streaming down her face. He hurt me by leaving. By choosing his career over us. By making me feel like I wasn't enough. And I was so angry, Dr. Phil. So angry that I wanted him to feel what I felt. I wanted him to lose what mattered most to him. The confession hung in the air. The audience wasn't sure whether to feel sympathy or horror. Subscribe and leave a comment. Because the most powerful part of this story is still ahead. Dr. Phil set down the folder. He walked slowly toward Karen, and in a move that surprised even his longtime producers, he sat down on the couch beside her, not across from her. Karen, he said quietly, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What you just described isn't protection. That's revenge. And the people who paid the price for your revenge weren't him, it was your children. Karen sobbed into her hands. I know. I know that now. Do you? Dr. Phil's tone remained gentle but unflinching. Because your daughters are backstage right now, and they just heard what you said. They heard that you kept their father away, not because he was dangerous, not because he was abusive, but because you were hurt and angry. Off camera, Dr. Phil made a choice no producer expected. He stood up and walked toward the wings, gesturing to bring the daughters out immediately, unplanned, unscripted, raw. Michelle and her two younger sisters, Emily, 19, and Sarah, 16, walked onto the stage. Their faces showed a mixture of shock, pain, and something else, a desperate need for their mother to finally tell the whole truth. Michelle's voice broke as she spoke. Mom, I spent my entire childhood believing I wasn't good enough for my own father to love. Do you know what that does to a person? Karen reached out, but Michelle stepped back. You don't get to touch me right now. Dr. Phil positioned himself between them, not as a barrier, but as a mediator. Karen, your daughters need you to be honest. Completely honest. Why did you really keep David away? And then came the moment that stopped everything. Karen looked at her daughters, then at Dr. Phil, then at the envelope he'd placed on the table earlier, the envelope containing letters from their father that she'd never let them see. Because, Karen's voice was barely audible. I thought if they had him, they wouldn't need me anymore. I thought I would lose them. The studio went silent. Even the audience members who had been judgmental moments before now looked at Karen with a different understanding. This wasn't a villain. This was a broken woman who had made catastrophic choices out of fear. Dr. Phil picked up the envelope and held it out to Michelle. These are your father's letters. 12 years worth. He never stopped writing. He never stopped trying. Michelle took the envelope with shaking hands. Her sisters gathered around her. And as they opened the first letter, dated just weeks after their parents' divorce, the camera captured the exact moment their understanding of their entire childhood shifted. Dear Michelle, Emily, and Sarah. The letter began. I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I need you to know that I love you more than anything in this world. But what happened next is something no one in the room, or watching at home, saw coming. Sarah, the youngest, who had been silent the entire time, suddenly turned to her mother. You knew he loved us. You read these letters, didn't you? Karen nodded through her tears. I read every single one. And you still kept them from us? I thought I was protecting you from... From what? Sarah's voice cracked with anguish. From being loved? From having a father? Dr. Phil gently placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. Sarah, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But right now, I need you to listen to something important. He turned back to Karen. Karen, I want you to understand what happens next. Your daughters are going to have a relationship with their father. That's not negotiable. But whether or not they have a relationship with you, that depends entirely on what you do in this moment and every moment after. Karen looked at her daughters with the expression of someone who had just realized the full cost of her choices. I don't expect you to forgive me, Karen said, her voice steadier now. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I need you to know that every single day for 12 years, I've lived with this guilt. And I told myself it was worth it if it kept you safe with me. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. Michelle, still holding the letters, asked the question that mattered most. Do you understand that you didn't just take our father from us? You took our childhood. Our trust. Our belief that we were worth loving. Yes, Karen whispered. I understand that now. Dr. Phil stepped forward. Karen, I'm going to give you an opportunity right now that most people don't get. I'm going to stop this taping, and I'm going to bring someone out here. And I need you to be ready for it. The audience murmured. Even the producers in the control room weren't sure what Dr. Phil was planning. Bring him out, Dr. Phil said into his microphone, speaking directly to the backstage crew. The studio doors opened, and David Miller, a man the daughters hadn't seen in 12 years, walked onto the stage. He was 52, with graying hair and eyes that immediately found his daughters. His face showed years of pain, but also an overwhelming flood of love. Emily gasped. Sarah started crying. Michelle stood frozen, still clutching the letters. David stopped several feet away, not wanting to overwhelm them. Hi, sweetheart, he said to Michelle, his voice breaking. You've gotten so tall. The moment that followed wasn't cinematic. There was no running embrace, no Hollywood reunion. Instead, there was awkward silence, tentative steps, and finally, Michelle walking slowly toward the father she barely remembered. You really wrote to us? She asked, holding up the letters. Every week, David confirmed. For 12 years. I never stopped loving you girls. Not for one single day. Share and subscribe. Make sure this story is never forgotten. Dr. Phil let the moment breathe. He didn't interrupt, didn't narrate, didn't try to manufacture emotion. This was real grief, real reconciliation, and real family trauma being processed in real time. Finally, Dr. Phil addressed the camera directly, something he rarely does. If you're watching this at home, and you're keeping secrets that you think are protecting your family, I want you to hear this. Lies don't protect people. They imprison them. Truth is painful, but it's also the only path to real healing. He turned back to the family on stage. Karen, you have a choice to make. You can continue justifying what you did, or you can start the hard work of rebuilding trust with your daughters. But that work begins with complete honesty, complete accountability, and complete commitment to putting their needs above your fear. Karen stood up and faced her daughters. I'm so sorry. I know that's not enough, but it's all I have right now. I'm so sorry. Dr. Phil looked at David. David, you've been given a second chance that most fathers in your situation never get. Don't waste it. David nodded, his eyes never leaving his daughters. I won't. The episode ended with no neat resolution, because real life doesn't have neat resolutions. Dr. Phil arranged for family therapy, intensive, long-term, with one of the best trauma specialists in the country. He ensured that David had legal support to establish formal custody arrangements. He provided resources for the daughters to process their childhood trauma. And he gave Karen something unexpected. A number for a therapist who specialized in helping people who had hurt the ones they loved most. "This isn't about punishment," Dr. Phil told her privately after the taping. "This is about making sure you understand why you did what you did, so you never do it again." 3 months later, Dr. Phil received an email from Michelle. The family was in therapy. David was attending his daughter's lives again, carefully, slowly, rebuilding trust. The relationship with Karen was still fractured, but there were small signs of healing. "Dr. Phil," Michelle wrote, "you gave us back the truth. And even though the truth hurts, it's better than living in a lie." The legacy of that episode extended far beyond one family. Hundreds of viewers reached out to the show, sharing their own stories of being kept from parents, of lies told for protection, of childhood shaped by one parent's pain and fear. The episode became one of the most watched in Dr. Phil's history, not because of spectacle, but because of raw, uncomfortable honesty. Dr. Phil reflected on it months later in an interview. "Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to stop protecting them from the truth. Karen thought she was saving her children. In reality, she was stealing from them. And the saddest part? She knew it. Deep down, she always knew it." The sealed envelope that sat on the table throughout that episode, the one containing 12 years of unopened letters, now sits in Michelle's apartment. She hasn't read all of them yet. Some days, she says, it's too painful. But she knows they're there. She knows her father never stopped trying. And that knowledge, however late it came, is rewriting the story she told herself about who she was and whether she was worthy of love. The lie that Karen told to protect her family didn't protect them. It imprisoned them. And it took Dr. Phil stopping the cameras, breaking protocol, and demanding the truth before that prison door could finally open.